When we were doing Mitchell, it was kind of weird because it was Joel's last episode, and it was just kind of strange, and yet at the same time it was business as usual. It's really just kismet that Mitchell was the show I left on. It wasn't like, we've got this array of 22 shows, let's survey them all. We really want to send off Joel with a fantastic movie. No, it just was, it could have been any movie. It just happened to be Mitchell.
I think Mitchell came to us the way that all the others did. The network would just send us a whole bunch of cassette tapes at that time, and we go through them, and some would pop. You know, this is one of those that just popped to the surface and seemed. First of all, it had Joe Don Baker. You know, that would always get our attention.
That wasn't really in our lexicon, like hard-boiled cop, made-for-TV looking movies with washed-up stars is like a great Mystery Science Theater, you know, is great fare for Mystery Science Theater. Just dropped in, and it turned out to be like the perfect movie.
It's got all that stuff that a formulaic show of the time had. When it was that time when everything on television looked the same. You know, all the cop shows they're just insert a different character, all the same situations.
Meanwhile, on an Adam 12 episode not far away,
you know, from McCloud to McMillan and Wife to Columbo to, you know, they're all sort of the same. And I think they expected Mitchell to sort of silently sneak into that groove of all those other cop shows and just sort of be there with them.
Mitchell.
hearts pounding,
Mitchell.
veins clogging.
Mitchell. It's really like shot like a made-for-TV movie. Even that it's got like Linda Evans in it. She's a TV star. She's not a movie actor. It's like even the aspect ratio is TV, so you're really seeing Mitchell's face. It's not like he's far away and it's a CinemaScope movie. He's right there. It's a made-for-TV movie. I think Joe Don Baker's performance was so repulsive that, and I'm not knocking Joe Don Baker. I like him. He's great, and there's a BBC series which you should watch. It's early on in his career, and he's fantastic. But that movie was really hurty.
I mean, the idea of Joe Don Baker at all being suave, you know, anything like they're sexy in any way, was just hysterical. Because he's such a dump. He's such a load. He's such this big, doughy, goofy, slobbery guy, and we just kept building on that. Is that he was so unappealing. My God, no!
When the kid comes up on the skateboard and does that weird thing, my mom hates you, well, I hate your mama. And it's like, you're just like going, well, you know, and this seems so improvised and so unscripted and doesn't go anywhere. But you could see that, you know, some producers saying, we don't have any kids in this movie. Can we just like get a kid come up to and do, you know, oh, I got an idea. You know, it just was, it seemed so meaningless. It didn't do anything for the story, and it's so awkward. Nobody's like landing anything that's funny. The kid's not funny. Joe Don Baker's not funny.
You're lying through your teeth. You're lying through your teeth. The buzz off, huh? Buzz off! The buzz off, kid!
It's just jaw-droppingly crazy dumb. So in that way, it's a perfect sort of Mystery Science Theater show. Is that it's a piece of film making that doesn't realize how dumb it is. It's like unselfconsciously bad.
Tell my wife I love her, Mitchell!
We wanted to have a transition that wasn't over dramatic. I mean, you know, a lot of ideas got thrown around.
Let's use method number 53,
Yes, elegant, painful.
My initial idea was to have Joel hit by a sex ray from outer space and he gets changed into a woman. My suggestion, I think when I was asked, was, well, we could do that because that way we'll avoid comparison, you know, to another guy.
How to get Joel off this ship? How to get Joel off? Charter flight? No. How?
Jim and Kevin wanted to audition people, and so that happened. And but at the end of it all, you know, it was kind of like Mike was the guy.
You guys watch Joe Don Baker movies?
Oh, look, just get back to work, temp boy.
We had to acknowledge the fact that this was a huge transition, of course. not only for ourselves but for the fans of the show, because we didn't want to disappoint them with this. A lot of people were already sad that Joel was leaving, and it was a fait accompli that there was going to be this sort of Kirk-Picard dynamic with our fans.
I mean, in the context of things, Mike and I kind of look alike. We're doughy white guys from the Midwest. So I was a little bit concerned about it being a Dick York, Dick Sargent kind of comparison.
There was absolutely nobody else in my mind that would do it. I mean, he was the guy.
Here's a manifest for the Satellite of Love. Maybe there's something here that can help.
Yes, oh, please.
So we just sort of set it up that sort of this easy way for, Joel to get out of the place. He does, something a bit heroic and has his goodbye,
The hell is that?
Yeah, where's Joel?
And gets into the Hexfield view screen. And he leaves in the escape pod that was in the box marked Hamdingers.
Hey, look! There's a prize inside that box of Hamdingers. An escape pod.
So it was simple and it was fun and it was a farewell.
What about us?
Yeah.
What are we supposed to do without you? Who's gonna teach us about what it is to be human and stuff?
Yeah. Listen, you guys, at this point, you guys know as much about it as I do.
The last sketch, which had the plaque from the Circus of Dr. Lau.
Listen, if you look under the desk, there's a plaque I made for you guys to put up to remember me by.
Circus of Dr. Lau is like just one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. It's kind of the embodiment of everything I liked about movies. So it just dropped on me. I go, I think that character's named Mike in Circus Seven Faces of Dr. Lau, and I think I rented it and watched it and said, oh, you know what? This is how I kind of feel. This is kind of how I feel about the end of the show or keeping the show going, and kind of the premise of having wonder and not being too cynical, It's kind of like that was kind of what my goodbye would be, So all that tracked really beautifully for me, just to kind of make my goodbye is just a reference to another movie I saw, So that I'm happy with that, and I thought that was like a good way to say goodbye, and really kind of how I felt about it.
Joel, buddy, the Circus of Dr. Lou? I don't get it.
Hey, it's my favorite movie, so sue me. I gotta go, guys.
And of course, Dr. Forrester and Frank have, the ideal guy who's right down there already working in their cave.
I liked it in that Mike was such an integral part in the writing room, and that he would then, kind of come forward. It was kind of like if you had to swap out somebody, the creator who's the host for a head writer who's the host, that makes a lot of sense.
It allowed the show to move in new directions. It was a change. I mean, I had tremendous respect and admiration for Joel because, this came out of his fevered, crazy brain in the first place. And so, he always had a very, left-handed way of seeing things, and it showed in everything he did in his performances. And that changed. The tinkerer inventor character that Joel was not what Mike was. Mike was more of a buddy to the bots than their sort of instructor kind of guy. He was not their inventor, he was sort of their pal.
I thought, well, I'll see how this Mike guy is, This might be enough to change it up and make it more interesting again. And it did for me, I certainly enjoyed the rest of my time there.
I think that it worked out, it's kind of like looking back at it, everybody kind of got what they wanted. I mean, all I really cared about was being the creator of it and getting the ball rolling and having those initial ideas that kind of creating the playground of Mystery Science Theater and the atmosphere of the writer's room. And obviously after that, it's kind of like if you get the right people together, you can keep it rolling.
What? Racy to the Mallow Cups? I found out where he hides them.
Oh, Crow, too soon.